Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hockey Podcast. You can, of course, follow us on Twitter at podcast_hockey, facebook.com, the Hockey Podcast, youtube.com, the Hockey Podcast, as well as you can subscribe to the audio as well after. And we continue our weekly look into the WHL. And this week we are looking at the Moose Jaw Warriors, a team that did struggle the last couple of years, but the team that may be on the rise, or are they on the rise? Jamie Neugebauer covers the Moose Jaw Warriors with the Dub Network. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So happy that hockey is back and in a proper format, like not like the hub. As fun as that was, this is way better.
Yeah, let's maybe start. Let's start there. Tell us kind of the hub in Saskatchewan.
hmm
What was that like? And how obviously it's much better and why it's much better now. Obviously.
It was fun. I think it was. We were all so starved for hockey at the time too, so that probably, helped it be awesome. Obviously, you miss the packed rinks and the fans and the passion for hockey just in general in southern Saskatchewan, and obviously, if the folks in Regina want to maximize on Connor Bedard time, and I'm sure we'll talk about sort of the juxtaposition of Bedard versus maybe the '05 or '05s on Moose Jaw if you want, and the young guns on Moose Jaw. But obviously the lack of atmosphere, just like anywhere in hockey, was a little bit strange. The fans are such a big part. The energy is such a big part, and then you really get to see how good a guy truly is if he can do it night in night out. Road trips, bus trips, 3 and 4s, in harder situations. They didn't have to take on the Edmonton Oil Kings and whatnot of the world. So obviously there's lots of young talent here in Saskatchewan, but you really show how good you are when you can test yourself against everyone everywhere, and that's what everybody's looking forward to seeing these young guns do when the challenges come, not just in terms of playing the game and stepping up a level, but everything that comes with being a Western Hockey Leaguer, and there's a lot that comes with being a Western Hockey Leaguer.
I wonder if this it was in some ways for the team. Do you see it that this was a possible bonding opportunity for the team?
Mhm.
Like this was a situation that was terrible, but they got to
Mhm.
play hockey. But you kind of learned a little bit more about each other. It was sort of
Mhm.
an inconvenient road trip in a sense.
Yeah, I think just like you talk to kids in the dorms of CSSHL or Notre Dame kids or wherever rink, if you're in Manitoba or whatever, those types of places. I guess it suits some guys who are hockey all the time, 24/7, and maybe it doesn't suit other guys, who want to see their families. And I knew there were Regina kids even that couldn't even, if kids were from Regina couldn't even see their families. So that was strange. But certainly there was bonds, and certain guys took advantage, and certain guys struggled more with it. And the younger kids, you think maybe they're types that, with younger guys in a lot of situations, they just kind of don't know any different. So they just are out there to prove themselves. Maybe older guys, I think, tend to be like, this is far from ideal. But the best, the guys who are NHL caliber, kind of shut up and get on with it and deal with it. Even if it's tough, even if they're humans, which they are. Um, I don't think Mark O'Leary, especially with the Moose Jaw Warriors, was looking for anybody to have excuses. And that bared out with kind of who's not back, and maybe who is.
So yeah, maybe let's start with kind of the new blood. Who is in this lineup that you're excited about?
Mhm.
What are some of the new faces that you're seeing?
Well, the biggest question mark, and I actually got some slack from some Moose Jaw people about my reporting about it. Maybe was the goaltending situation in Moose Jaw last year, and Boston Belois came in, supposed to be the 19-year-old, the veteran, really struggled. Maybe it was a situation where it was off the ice. It didn't really work out for him. So he's gone. The '03 birth year that's back, Brett Muirwald definitely had flashes of brilliance, but they did bring a 20-year-old from Lethbridge, Carl Tedachuk, and he'll be given every opportunity to play a lot. Really, this is also a situation where the Warriors are hoping to really maximize on their European imports, like a lot of teams are, obviously. And they brought in two big forwards from one from the Czech Republic, Martin Rajsavi, who's still in camp with the Columbus Blue Jackets, and young Slovakian forward Robert Batso, who has been huge as well. Big shot, big strong kid. The foot speed needs to get better, maybe, but those are two guys. But really, it's about the returnees, because there's a lot of returning pieces for Moose Jaw. It's less about who's new and more about who's coming back that they hope will take another step.
So I guess one name that is going to popping off on mine, and maybe you can help me add this: Ryder Korzak, a third round pick for the
Mhm.
Rangers, last year's draft. That's one. Who else do we need to
Mhm.
watch?
Yeah, so I mean there's two sides of the coin, right? There's lots of guys missing from camp right now because there are six Warriors in NHL camp. Ryder Korzak, he's first line center, very important. He's still with the New York Rangers, and they really like him. If he's back, he'll be a premium player, probably a World Junior player. Damon Hunt, of course, who played two parts of 2 seasons now in the AHL with the Iowa Wild, the Minnesota Wild. He's the captain, the defenseman. Those are sort of the two biggest names in terms of guys who aren't here. Who is here? Obviously, the attention goes quickly to Braden Yeager, the '05 birth year, who was the third overall pick, 2 spots behind Connor Bedard a couple of years ago. Jumped right into the hub, played very well in a big role. And then Denton Matejchuk, the '04 birth year, who was also a first round pick a couple of years ago. Who played for the Team Canada U18 team, a very good Team Canada U18 team, as a 16-year-old, and played very well in limited opportunities for Canada, but played very well in big opportunities for the Warriors at the hub. And they're really looking for those two guys who have been here to take big steps forward. The third guy I want to mention, of sort of that group of really young guys, is Jagger Firkus, who often gets overlooked. But he was phenomenal and really needed to be at the hub last year. Very skilled, young, slick forward. Very dangerous customer, and very good on the power play as well. Mark O'Leary, I think, will give all those guys opportunities. But there's a long list of pieces that can really make an impact for Moose Jaw this year.
And in terms of losses, who
Mhm.
do you see as a significant loss that you think the
Mhm.
Warriors may miss?
Yeah, funny. It all really depends on if somebody maybe cracks an NHL roster to really answer that
Mm.
question. And my view of watching Ryder Korzak very closely is he might be somebody that could crack in New York Rangers depending on the direction they go. Obviously, the situation is he's not old enough to play in the American Hockey League, so that's good news for Moose Jaw Warriors. I think he'll be back. I think they'll all be back. Those sort of key pieces that I was talking about. It's from the
Nope.
blue line. He's a guy that I think showed some potential. Um, you know, uh, and from an emotional standpoint, I guess Mr. Warrior around for 250 games or so. Tate Popple, he was around forever for the Warriors, and really a guts and glory, guts and heart and soul type of kid more than anything. But the optimism and the amount of players that Mark O'Leary has to plug into this roster is the biggest headache isn't who's gone. The biggest headache is how do I make them fit properly, and that's obviously a good sign for any Western Hockey League team.
So the Warriors have been sort of in a rebuilding phase. So this year it sounds like they're
Hmm.
taking the next step.
Hmm.
Um, if I'm correct in that assessment,
Hmm.
um, I'm fascinated with the Saskatchewan or division and sort of the East Division, because when I talked to Matt Rowe, I was sort of my thought process in my head was that this might be the year that the Regina Pats are going to go all in with Connor Bedard, but that sounds like they're going to wait one more year. But I think you want to maximize that for sure.
Hmm.
Is this the year that the Moose Jaw Warriors are stepping? Where do they fit within this division? Like, how would you rank currently the East Division from your perspective?
Yeah, it's so tough. Yeah, certainly the Warriors feel like they're in a position to contend right now. Um, you know, some Moose Jaw fans and media that I've talked to feel like maybe this team needs to learn to walk before it can run. which is, I think, in many ways the results of the hub, as whether or not they were important to anybody, they were somewhat disappointing, I think, to Moose Jaw people. Um, yeah, I mean, it's hard to say exactly how it stacks up. I think a lot of people have Brandon at number one. I still like Saskatoon. They still have Meyer in net there, so he's going to play a lot of games, and he's going to be the best goalie in the division. So if you have the best goalie, that's a good start. But certainly, this Moose Jaw team expects to be right in that mix. And obviously, Winnipeg has a stable full of young guns too. But the question is whether this Moose Jaw team can hit the ground running, whether they need a year to be a really contending team, because none of these guys really have been there. Obviously, the 2018 team was the last time that there was kind of hope in Moose Jaw for contending. But their coaching staff, their brass say now is the time to be number one in Saskatchewan, or number one in the East Division, and really make a run, really push. As I mentioned, the Edmonton Oil Kings, or whoever, the Vancouver Giants, the Portland Winterhawks, whoever is supposed to be the super teams this year. Now's the time, if you ask people in Moose Jaw.
Hmm. Now, let's get into Connor Bedard and sort of
Mm-hmm.
how he plays, how his play, like your thoughts on him, where you sort of see how the Moose Jaw Warriors match up with him, and
Mm-hmm.
sort of how he impacts junior hockey in Saskatchewan overall. Because
Mm-hmm.
I think, I mean, obviously, it sounds like a very passionate fan base in Moose Jaw, but I think when you add a guy like Connor Bedard, who is
Mm-hmm.
this special, I think it's going to create a heightened awareness. So, kind of I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think everybody in the world is aware of Connor Bedard at this point. Or hockey world is aware of Connor Bedard at this point. I know, talking to Mark O'Leary, the head coach of the Moose Jaw Warriors, that whenever it's Regina Moose Jaw, to him it means a ton. And then obviously you add the element of the challenge of stopping a force like that. He is a kid that is the piece of the puzzle for the Regina Pats, really. I mean, that's what people ask me, comparing Braden Yeager, the '05 on Moose Jaw, to Connor Bedard. Braden Yeager is a nice piece of the Moose Jaw puzzle. Connor Bedard is the Regina puzzle, and we've seen that in the preseason for the Pats already, is that whatever line he's on is the one that produces for Regina. Zach Dubinsky and Zach Stringer, the recent acquisition from the Lethbridge Hurricanes, has been, huge for the Pats. But certainly eyeballs on South Saskatchewan is enormous. The passion for the game here is already huge. And then, you throw the pandemic into the mix, where people are starving for live hockey. And, I think there was a little bit of consternation down the road in Regina about the fact that the Semple family, who, took over sole possession ownership of the Regina Pats, raised ticket prices a little bit. And if you had Connor Bedard coming in, why wouldn't you? The thing that I noticed when I moved to Saskatchewan couple of years ago was that right after the Memorial Cup run, the Pats just weren't a very good hockey team. They had a hard time winning. They played hard, but they just didn't have talent. The talent deficit was too big. But the fans still came out. People still packed the barn in the Brant Center in Regina. Can only imagine if Connor Bedard is doing what he's doing. And there's nothing in the preseason that I've seen that suggests he's not going to absolutely dominate from the puck drop. This is a kid that doesn't dip his toes in. This is not a kid that waits for his opportunity. This is not a kid that, needs a minute to feel comfortable. He is in attack mode every second of every game. And if you take your foot off the pedal just a little bit, he will burn you. Now, the last point I'll make is, and the Moose Jaw Warriors will take this point with a lot of pride, there were only two teams of all the games. And obviously Bedard only played in whatever 30 something games last year because of the pandemic. The hub plus the World Under 18 National World Hockey Championship in Texas, and there were only two teams in the whole world that could shut down Connor Bedard, held him pointless for just a game, not period, just for one game. And one was Team Belarus, if you believe it, and
Oh
one was
yeah,
the Moose Jaw Warriors at the hub. They held him scoreless. He did score in the shootout in that game. So I don't know if you count that, but they held them pointless over the course of 60 minutes plus overtime. So that is amazing, given Bedard's his consistency is that he was able to show up every night for Regina and Canada. Every single game he had at least a point. That is remarkable, but the Warriors shut him down once, so they're going to hope to do that again.
Um, yeah, okay, that's good, and I think that's good for the fans. Well,
Hmm.
I just sparked me here. Kind of describe for us who don't
Hmm.
have never seen Braden Yeager play.
Hmm.
Describe it kind of.
Yeah.
I know the kind of his style. If there's a comparable,
Hmm.
um, tell me a little bit about him. And I'd like you to do that with Danton Melchichuk too, because I mean, you
Yeah.
brought in him a little bit, but I think he's
Hmm.
a guy. I know Peter Labardius was high on him too. So
Yeah, and I wrote a pretty long form feature on Denton Matejchuk on the Dub Network during the Hub, early in the Dub Network, or in the Hub season last year,
yeah.
and talked a lot about him, and he caught my eye super fast. So Braden Yeager, yeah, he is thick for an '05 birth year. He's an early '05 birth year, uh, but the guy that he was compared to by their head coach Mark O'Leary in a moment of lack of self-awareness maybe by O'Leary, because coaches hate to do the whole comparable thing, but he let slip that he was comparing him to Nathan McKinnon of the Colorado Avalanche, in that he's got great feet, really fast, but also extremely strong on the puck. He carries the puck with a little bit of a lean over the puck, so that makes it harder for guys to take the puck off of him. I don't know if I've ever seen a kid protect the puck at that age as well as Braden Yeager does. He is a one-man wrecking crew in that regard, and as a result, didn't look out of place in major junior hockey for a second because of that ability to protect the puck, because of that strength. And he's very smart. He's got a rocket, a missile of a shot like Nathan McKinnon does too. I think certainly he projects as a winger more than a centerman. Um, Maybe unlike McKinnon in that way, but he is such a guy that, when he was on the top line with Korzak before Korzak had the jaw injury at the Hub, they were quite the combination. I think that's when the Warriors were really clicking the best, is when he was given a real prominent role, and then Korzak had a surgery and came back in the Hub, believe it or not, from jaw surgery in the middle of the Hub. Left,
Mm.
had to quarantine and everything, and still came back. And I wrote a piece about that actually on the Dub Network too. But that's crazy. That tells you about Ryder Korzak, what type of human being and a player he is. He's crazy, not crazy in a negative way. Just he's hardcore about the team. Plays so hard, fast, great foot speed, everything. Korzak could make the show, in my opinion, right now. But you didn't ask me about Ryder Korzak. Braden Yeager, yeah, he's going to be good. He can play defense too. He'll shut you down.
And then Denton Matejchuk. I call him Matechuk, and it's wrong. Matejchuk.
Guy. Denton Matejchuk was called a one-man breakout. He's got quick feet. Again, not a big guy, but in terms of height, but he's super strong. His big brother is a 6'4" baseball player. So that tells you how strong Denton Matejchuk is to compete with his big brother over his life, a couple of years older. Yeah, he's has got to work Matejchuk on shooting the puck, but he's a brilliant passer, incredible vision. And he's just magic breaking the puck out. Obviously Bobby Orr is too crazy of a comparable, but just his ability to feel pressure on the forecheck and get away from it, and not get in any trouble, and deal with bigger forwards in the D zone. He's pretty close to a complete defenseman at his age, as much as you can hope for an '04 defenseman to be complete. And I really genuinely believe that Denton will be a first round pick in the NHL next time there's a draft.
I try to. He doesn't remind me of Orr. I'm not going to say that. I'm trying to. There.
No.
Um. He sort of has a bit of Heiskin in him.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
I could see that a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of another. Another. This is maybe outrageous, but just hear me out. I mean, I
Well,
don't
Bobby
know
Orr
if
was
he.
outrageous too.
No, but this one is. I don't know about his vicious side, because I mean I haven't seen
Yeah.
enough of him to say that, but he sort of has a Duncan Keith quality about him.
Mm. Yeah, that's an interesting comparison. The easy one to ask Moose Jaw fans and media pundits, the easy one you want to compare any defenseman to is Morgan Riley, who,
Mm.
of course, is on the Leafs and was a Moose Jaw great and a Notre Dame Hounds great too. Um, I think Morgan's a better shooter. I think Morgan's maybe a bit better defensively. But obviously, it was, he's Denton's still young. He's got time, and he's got a great teacher to play alongside in Damon Hunt, because I think Damon Hunt's best attributes are defensively as well. So, um, it's interesting to talk about comparables, but at the end of the day, I think Denton is so mature that he's going to come in and hit the ground running too, and be a huge piece for this Moose Jaw team. Denton left for Canada U18 before it was all over, obviously, at the hub, and the Warriors just plummeted even more than when they were without Damon Hunt. I think at the hub without Denton, I think he's absolutely critical to what the Warriors want to do, especially offensively. So, um, yeah, I'm looking forward to watching to seeing all those guys.
Now I guess a couple of other, just two more. The
Mhm.
WHL made a number of rule changes that really started really in more parallels to what the NHL is doing. What are your thoughts on that? How beneficial will that be for the WHL product?
Yeah, I think it's a situation where they're not that they're not going to be that noticeable, I guess, until you're a fan and that offside, the plane of the offside line affects you. But it's nice to be innovative. I don't have too much to say about it other than you need to always be trying to figure out how to make the product marginally better. You don't want to make it too big difference too fast, but I have no problems with any of the new rules. And we'll see. Hopefully, the new offside rules don't confuse too many linesmen. That's all.
That's fair. And then my last one, unless there's anything else we you want to make sure that we get into this, is
Mhm.
sort of where sort of the fan expectations is, like the excitement in Moose Jaw that you're
Mhm.
going to get fans back, and what is the current ticket situation in terms of, I know you talked about the Pats, and I mean it was a bit of a controversy about the Regina Pats and what happened with the tickets there. What are they doing in Moose Jaw around that?
Yeah, I mean, nothing out of the ordinary as far as I've been made aware. I think again, this is a fan base that will come out if there's, um, that will come out if there's a reason to come out, I guess is what I'll say. It was kind of bleak in Mosaic a couple of years ago when they were winning. I don't forget 13 games or whatever it was. They were pretty bad, but they'll come out. Moose Jaw. People talk about Saskatchewan being a hockey province, and it definitely is. But Regina is a rider town. There's so much to do in Regina compared to Moose Jaw. Moose Jaw is much smaller, so it's a situation where Moose Jaw is a Warriors town. There's going to be Warriors jerseys everywhere. People are going to show up. I think it's also the pandemic bounce back effect. And I think the names will be more name home. I think maybe that it'll start slow and grow into a wave as people become more and more aware of how good this Moose Jaw team can be. And the way that Mark O'Leary plays, and maybe that's maybe a last point that I'll make, unless you come up with one other question, is the style of play that Mark O'Leary plays. I think is really conducive to a younger group and a group that's really connected because um, he's less about European style regrouping, and he's less about maintaining possession of the puck at all costs, and some of those analytics driven ways of playing out, sort of like the Maple Leafs. People talk about them being a very high Corsi team and how you want to have the puck and play defense by having the puck, and that's the way that a lot of teams play. It's kind of a copycat world. Mark O'Leary's style is a little bit different than that. Obviously, they want to have the puck. Every hockey team wants to have the puck. Every team wants to outshoot the opposition. But for Marco O'Leary, it's about you see ice and you take it as fast as possible. You see an up pass, you get it up as possible. And that's one area that Boston Belois was great for the Warriors in that he was an outstanding puck mover. He'll actually play in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League this year for the Estevan Bruins. And so I'm sure we'll see Boston snapping pucks to the far blue line in the SJHL a ton this year. So it'll be interesting to see whether Carl Tedachuk can do the same types of things. We saw that Brett Meerwald wasn't able to do the same types of things that Belois was in terms of moving that puck quickly, getting it up. the ice as fast as possible, not worrying about a perfect regroup or low and slow breakouts, that kind of thing. They're all about high octane, get in your face, cause a turnover, that kind of thing. And either way, it makes for fun hockey, makes for turnovers and mistakes both ways. And this Warriors team has the weaponry, the offense to score a lot of goals. So I think he's not going to change a thing that way system wise, and that'll make for an exciting brand of hockey no matter what. Whether it's a success in Moose Jaw or not, and I have a hunch, not just because I cover them and know them a bit now. I actually think they're going to be a big time success, and I think they're going to be a very dangerous team when it all is said and done in the Western Hockey League this year.
All right. Well, we'll be keeping an eye on that. So, how do we follow you?
So you can find me at Neugsie, Neugsie, on Twitter. I'd love to hear your questions and comments, and definitely get cooking, covering the Warriors in depth real soon.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for doing this. Thanks for taking the time. I know you had a very busy day, so I really appreciate you taking some time. Of course, you can follow me, Kevole. Sean is Beardy Canuck 03, Tyler TNOBLE, Devin Gordhow 09, Chris is Schneids SCHNEIDZ, podcast_hockey, Facebook.com, the hockey podcast, YouTube.com, the hockey podcast. Thanks for watching and listening, and we will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.